Welcome back, Wisdom Seekers. Happy Year of the Fire Horse. Happy eclipse season. If you are feeling restless or just kind of wonky, in a funk, don't worry. Me too. It's all part of just being right smack dab in the middle of eclipse season. Today's episode, I wanted to pop it out urgently. I am in the process of developing my first season. I think that's going to be a little bit more sustainable for me moving forward, is to just kind of get down into my creative grind and pop out 6 or 8 episodes on a particular topic. And so I'm in the process of developing that right now so that I can hopefully be a little bit more consistent with talking to you guys, because I love this. I miss this. And it's not something that I feel like I can allow myself to do very often in the throes of motherhood. So I've got a very busy toddler, but I am in the process of kind of restructuring my life. And part of that meant asking for some help and hiring a babysitter so that I can get some mental capacity back so that I can create, because that's what we need right now in this world. Is we need everyone's art. Queen Herbie, one of my favorites, she is definitely my mood right now. And she's always telling us, we need your art. So figure out what you need during this eclipse season to get re-inspired, get creative, take the rest you need and rejuvenate, and come out into spring with that fire horse energy. Because if there's one thing that I know right now, is that everything going on in the news in the world, it's really designed to help beat us down. And that is the opposite of the energy that we need moving forward, because the whole spirit of this podcast is, moving into the new paradigm. So the destruction and all this craziness that we're experiencing right now, it's part of the old paradigm tearing down. We're burning it all down. And we really need that mental capacity in order to dream up and create what we want for this future. We're going to be able to start from scratch with everything that's being revealed. We're finally drawing that line in the sand and saying, no, we are not bringing this into our future. That is not what we want for the collective. This is not the kind of world that we want to create anymore. It's not going to happen overnight, but hopefully with today's episode, I can move you from a place of powerlessness, if that's what you're feeling, to more of a feeling of empowerment. I wanted to talk to you today about the movement Resist and Unsubscribe. It's something that's being championed by an entrepreneur and podcast host, Scott Galloway. And I just want to break down this movement for you. So hopefully you feel called to make some changes that will make a big impact. Let's get into it. Welcome, Wisdom Seekers, to Gathering Wisdom, knowledge for the new paradigm. I'm your host, Robin in the Wild, here to bridge the 3D and the 5D, to explore where the physical meets the mystical, and the everyday unfolds into a beautiful mystery. Each week we'll journey through realms of ancient wisdoms, conscious living, and connection flowing between science and spirit. This is your invitation to rise into your fullest expression and remember the mission your soul came here to embody. So breathe in, tune in, and together let's co-create a more empowered, resilient, and vibrantly awakened tomorrow. When I'm not listening to my spiritual, neuroscience, quantum physics, woo-woo podcasts, I listen to a lot of podcasts about the economy and the markets. It's a habit that I got into when we first got into real estate investing, because if you're not minding your money's not working for you. So it was the best way for me to get up to speed. I really love everything that's on NPR, all of NPR's programming, especially Marketplace. I rely on Marketplace to give me the lowdown on what is going on. Not all of it do I understand. Not all of it is relevant to my life, but I love Kai Rizdal. I've gotten to learn more about him recently. He was interviewed by Scott Galloway, host of another podcast, who is the founder and the person behind the Resist and Unsubscribe movement. And he interviewed Kai this week, and he said, Kai Ryssdal said, the most significant thing we can do right now is withhold our money from the market. And I'm going to explain why resisting and unsubscribing is the most radical act we can take as a consumer in this capitalistic society. So for anyone who doesn't know, Scott Galloway is best known for hosting his popular podcasts. He's got Prof G, he's got Office. I mean, this guy is on a podcast every day, probably 3 times a day. He hosts another one called Pivot with Kara Swisher. He's also an author, an academic, a multimillionaire, an entrepreneur. And I've really come to appreciate his take on things, especially with what's going on in the economy, with the rise of AI, and just generally what's going on in the world of finance. They make some really cool predictions. Right now, they're talking about, the prediction market and how it's set to outpace the gambling market and the dangers that come with that. He also talks a lot about politics and then cultural shifts. He's not afraid to express his opinions on white male toxic masculinity, how we need to start shaping the youth, the harms of technology on our younger generation. So whether or not you agree with everything he says, he is right about one thing, and that's this administration really only cares about the markets. The protests are great, but Trump ignores them. He does not care what we think. Okay. He's ignored the courts. He's even going back now with the tariffs. And it seems like the real power we yield and the real weapon at our disposal is our ability to vote with our dollars. And I have always said that. If you don't want to support an amoral company, you have to go find the alternative that makes you feel good and aligned. And you have to remove your money from the machine. Because at the end of the day, these tech CEOs that are enabling this Trump regime, they do not need our money. They don't care. They're looking out for themselves, and they only care about their shareholders and their bottom line. So this sparks a really small tangent about consumerism in general and all the lies that we were sold about switching everything to streaming services and going to the cloud. But now it's more expensive to run your life that way because they've all put us on a subscription model. And that's what these companies rely on, is our subscription, our recurring revenue dollars. So imagine if we had just held on to all of our physical media in the first place, if we were all still using our iPods instead of streaming on Spotify, which is which is partnered with Palantir, which is a massive AI intelligence company that's working with the military. So they are deliberately designing products that they know are addictive and harming mental health, especially in our youth. And in many ways, they've made life easier, more expansive, allowed for some bursts in creativity, keeping us more productive. They've helped us keep connected. But to every good, there's a polar opposite. So there's always going to be light and dark, especially when it comes to AI. It's relatively unregulated. And so what Scott is asking us to do just for the next few months is to take back our power and unsubscribe. So here's what Scott Galloway aims to help us achieve. He proposes an extended, collaborative, month-long economic strike that he's calling a coordinated campaign to inflict maximum damage with the minimal impact to consumers. So we can live without tech. We can't live without groceries. We don't want to harm the everyday Joe, everyday consumer. We need to rip our money out of the machine where it's going to cause the most impact. And let me tell you, it's already working. And I'll get into some statistics in a minute. Boycotting one day a month from the total economy is not going to move the needle as much as an extended boycott of these big tech bro companies and the big box brands and some of the bigger financial institutions. So since Trump seems to only respond when the bond market slows down, collapses, or the S&P goes down, we need to hit the 10 companies that make up over 40% of the S&P. Most of them are highly sensitive to growth, consumer trends, and they rely on recurring revenue and subscriptions. So if we can just divert those dollars to supporting small businesses, donating our money, donating our time by volunteering, gathering in community, and just kind of unplugging from the system for a few months, These tech companies will respond because of the fall in their profit share, and in turn, Trump will also respond. All of this information is on his website, resistandunsubscribe.com, but I'm just going to walk you through the list of companies that he suggests we unsubscribe from. And I'll give you some personal alternatives and things that I've done to help cut the tap. So he separates all of them into tiers. The first tier is what he's calling ground zero. So these are subscription-driven consumer tech companies that we've identified as having outsized influence over the national economy and our president. So these are the CEOs that are really getting chummy with Trump. The first one is Amazon. If you can, cut Prime. Cut your Prime subscription. If you're already paid for the year, don't buy anything. You can live without it for a month or two, if not longer, or just use it as sparingly as possible. It's probably the biggest one for people, the hardest one for people to break up with. But go in search of some alternatives, and you might be pleasantly surprised. The next one is Apple. So I got really tired of paying the $10 a month for iCloud storage. I finally broke down and I bought myself a fancy schmancy hard drive, and I transferred everything on there. These hard drives are incredible. I backed up my entire phone onto this little credit card sized hard drive and called it a day. Do I still have to go through and sort through a bunch of stuff? I do. But I made a commitment to kind of go through some digital purging on a weekly basis. I'm telling you right now that having 10,000 photos in your phone is not serving you anyway. So unless you're going to print them out, back them up, erase it from your phone, and quit that subscription because you ultimately don't need it. Google is next on the list. Microsoft, that's a big one. The next one is Paramount. Paramount has definitely been in the news as of late with regards to the merger. And basically the whole team at CBS News. You can definitely make a wise choice by cutting your Paramount subscription there. The next one is Meta. He also lists Uber, Netflix, OpenAI, and of course, X. He makes a note that he personally would try to quit Instagram too if he could, but it seems to be the best platform for getting and proliferating this message out. So I'm still on Instagram. I have cleaned up a lot of my stuff and I no longer post a lot there, mainly just post to stories. I'm not going to get hooked up into the machine that is Reels and becoming an influencer, but everybody needs to be reposting the pertinent information, especially when it comes to powerful movements like this one. And, be mindful of spreading more positivity than misinformation. So he also recommends that if you are going to use Instagram, don't click on any ads and don't shop brands that you see from the links on the platform, because that all contributes to Meta's overall ad revenue. The next tier is what he's calling the blast. These are consumer-facing companies that are identified as having been active enablers of ICE. So number one being AT&T, my former employer. AT&T was awarded a $90 million contract to provide ICE with IT and network project support. So if you can, find an alternative. I personally use Mint. Noble Mobile is a new project by Andrew Yang. They actually reimburse you for any of the data that you didn't use for the month. So you may want to go over to Noble Mobile and check that out. There's a lot of alternative carriers right now that are prepaid and a lot cheaper, and they do the job just great. And of course, avoid upgrading any devices that you might already have through AT&T. The next one is Comcast. Comcast holds an ICE award to provide the agency with broadcast cable at 5 regional war rooms throughout the nation. So if you can, this one's hard because there might not be an alternative in your area, but in my little neck of the woods, we actually just got a new fiber provider. So if possible, go ahead and cancel that subscription and avoid any products by Xfinity. The next one is Charter. Charter is also one that you might have a hard time getting an alternative for without spending a lot of money, but Charter provides internet services for Department of Homeland Security and the investigative field offices based in Texas. So if you can find an alternative, go without, or I don't know, share with a neighbor. I know that's what my mom does in her apartment complex. They got a big tower and they share internet, and it seems to work for them. The next one is Dell. Dell was awarded an $18 million contract in April of 2025, so avoid purchasing any Dell products. And if you have any service contracts with them, go ahead and cancel that. The next one is FedEx, provides delivery services for ICE, and they're in a contract with them through 2027, valued at $2.5 million. Then we've got Home Depot and Lowe's. This is also one that kind of hurts because we currently are financing some appliances through Home Depot, but Home Depot and Lowe's, they use AI-powered license plate readers in their parking lots, the Flock software that you may or may not have been hearing about. And they're feeding this data into surveillance systems accessible to ICE. It's hard when you don't have a lot of alternatives, but so far I've spent a little bit more at my local hardware store, and I've actually gotten a lot better service with higher quality products. So I actually think it's a way to retrain ourselves when it comes to perceived value. The next one is Marriott. If you can help it, don't stay at a Marriott hotel. ICE uses Marriott chains to detain immigrants. So book with an alternative hotel chain and cancel any memberships you might have with them. The next one is UPS, and they contract with ICE. So if you can help it, use USPS, local couriers, look for alternatives. He also suggests that if you do any of these things, they're helping track the metrics to see what kind of impact they're making. If you are on Instagram, go ahead and check out Scott Galloway's Instagram and click to add your sticker to show how you've resisted. They are tracking all of the uses of the hashtags resist and unsubscribe and resist ICE. It's going into their metric flow. And tag Professor Galloway and he'll reshare it. So this helps perpetuate. This is good for the algorithm. And fun fact, I was listening to his podcast yesterday morning, and he said that a couple of employees at Microsoft informed him that his resist and unsubscribe website has actually been blocked for employees. So it's definitely getting noticed. It's definitely making an impact to the powers that be. And as of this recording, they have estimated a $225 million loss in market cap. And that is based on page views, applying a 5% conversion rate to the website, with each converted visitor canceling an average of 2 subscriptions, resulting in $30 in monthly revenue lost per converted visitor, $15 per cancellation. And they annualize that impact and apply a standard industry revenue multiplier of 10 to estimate the applied market cap effect of the campaign. The only other company that he doesn't mention here is Spotify. And we know that Spotify took money from Palantir and from the DHS to promote ads for recruiting for ICE. So that one's on you. I know that one's really hard. I have not deleted my Spotify account, but I did shut off the subscription, and I am exploring a couple of alternatives. One is called Quobuzz, and Quobuzz actually provides higher royalties back to the artist. It's not as intuitive to use, but there are definitely third-party programs that can help transfer a lot of your Spotify playlists over onto Quobuzz. So that's kind of cool. I did the migration, and it's a little clunky, but at the end of the day, it's there. And you can also purchase music on Quobuzz as an alternative to Apple Music. And what's cool about that is you own the music outright. So there's no licensing. Because if you do decide to buy a hard drive and transfer all of your library back into iTunes, at some point you will realize that some of those tracks that you bought on iTunes a long time ago are not playable because they're still sitting on the computer that you were using in college, and you don't have that access to that computer anymore. And so it's licensed to that computer. If you want to make sure that whatever platform you are purchasing from, whether it's an audiobook off of a website called Libro FM or Quobuzz, you want to make sure the music is DRM free, and DRM stands for Digital Rights Management. So when it's DRM free, it means you own it and you're not subject to having those licensing issues that you would on different computers. So that was something I had to learn the hard way. But there's plenty of tutorials out there. There's there's a Life Hacker article that I referenced. It's called I de-Amazoned my Kindle, and here's how I now buy DRM free ebooks. I'm going to go ahead and link that in the show notes. Lots of hacks. So I know it can be a little cumbersome to unplug from the system, but once you decrease your dependency on these platforms, you're free. And I'm thinking that maybe if we can't go without, then we just have to go with a little bit less. So he's not asking you to just unsubscribe from all of these in one day. That could be a major culture shock for you. But if everybody unsubscribed from 2 and they kept those subscriptions off until we can get some movement in the direction that we want in a way that is fair and equitable to everybody living in this country, then it will have an impact. So spread the word, share this episode with a friend, heed the call to resist and unsubscribe. You might save a little bit of money at the end of the day. And hey, that's never a bad thing. Resistandunsubscribe.com and stay curious. Thank you for joining me. If this week's topic resonated with you, you can help keep the wisdom flowing by following and sharing with a loved one or fellow seeker. If there's a topic you'd like me to explore or to be a guest on Gathering Wisdom, feel free to reach me at hey@robininthewild.com. Until next time, stay curious.